Okay, let's talk about the housing market. Because right now, there is a huge battle brewing. It's a fight that pits regular families against some of the biggest players on Wall Street. And it all boils down to one really important question. Who gets to own the American home? This quote from Senator Jeff Merkley, it gets right to the point, doesn't it? It frames this whole thing not just as some abstract economic trend, but as a direct threat to the American dream. And that feeling is exactly what's behind a major new push for legislation.
So you might be asking, how did we even get to a place where Wall Street is becoming the landlord for Main Street? Well, let's unpack the problem that this new bill is trying to fix.
Here's the deal. After the 2008 financial crisis, huge investment firms, private equity, hedge funds, the ones managing billions of dollars, spotted a massive opportunity. They started buying up single-family homes, not one by one, but by the thousands, turning what we've always seen as a family home into just another asset in their portfolio. And this has some very real consequences for people. I mean, imagine this. You've saved up for years, you finally find that perfect house, you're excited to make an offer, and boom, you're outbid by a corporation that just swoops in with an all-cash offer way over the asking price. And this is not some rare thing. In some cities, especially in the Sun Belt, these big investors have bought up nearly a third of all the single-family homes for sale. Naturally, that drives prices up for everyone and forces more people to rent, which, you guessed it, also gets more expensive. All right, so in response to all of this, a group of Senate Democrats has put a potential solution on the table. It's called the American Homeownership Act. So what's this bill really trying to do? Well, it kind of has two big goals. First, it wants to make it way less profitable for these giant companies to gobble up houses. It does that by going after major tax breaks, like for property depreciation, that critics say give these corporations a huge unfair advantage. And second, the bill aims to take all the money saved from closing those loopholes and use it to help create more affordable housing for the rest of us. So how would it all work in practice? Well, it's basically a three-pronged attack. First, step one, you take away the financial incentive by getting rid of those key tax deductions for the big corporate landlords. Step two, you reinvest that money directly into grants to build or fix up affordable homes. And finally, step three, you give the government's antitrust watchdogs more muscle to block huge housing buyouts that could hurt competition in a neighborhood. Senator Warren really boils it down here. The idea is to play both offense and defense, stop what they see as predatory behavior, while at the same time actively investing to build more homes and, hopefully, create more homeowners. But of course, it's never that simple, right? Like with any big policy change, not everyone thinks this is the right way to go. And this gets us to the core of the debate, which is really about two completely different ideas of how the housing market should even work. On one side, you've got the argument laid out here by Senator Blumenthal. The thinking is that the system right now is rigged in favor of Wall Street. So by taking away their special advantages and putting that money back into housing, you can level the playing field for families and help solve the housing shortage at the same time. And this slide right here, this is the real tug of war. Proponents are saying, look, the market is broken and we need the government to step in to protect families. But the critics see it completely differently. They're worried that this kind of heavy-handed regulation will just scare away investment, which means fewer houses get built or maintained, making the whole affordability problem even worse. This quote from St. Karnick at the Heartland Institute really captures that counter-argument perfectly. The logic is pretty simple. If you make it harder for anyone, and that includes big companies, to make money in housing, then less money will go into housing. And if that happens, the supply shortage just gets worse. It's that classic debate. Do you solve a problem with more regulation or by letting the free market work it out? Now, here's something that's really important to understand. While the solutions being proposed might seem partisan, the concern about the problem itself is not. This whole issue of corporations buying up family homes is being talked about all across the political aisle. So the crucial takeaway here is that there's actually broad agreement that something is wrong. I mean, nobody really thinks a family should have to compete with a hedge fund to buy a starter home. The real fight is over what the government's role should be in trying to fix it. And in fact, this isn't even a brand new conversation in Washington. Before this bill was even on the table, former President Trump signed an executive order that targeted the very same issue. This timeline shows that this has been on the federal government's radar for a bit now, just with very different ideas about how to handle it. And when you put these two approaches side by side, you can really see that deep philosophical divide. The American Homeownership Act is all about creating a broad new law to fix what its supporters see as a fundamentally flawed market. The Trump executive order, on the other hand, reflects a different idea, using the government's existing more limited powers to make smaller tweaks without creating sweeping new rules. It's a big intervention versus a more surgical adjustment. So yeah, the rise of the Wall Street landlord is something pretty much everyone in Washington agrees is a challenge. The question is no longer if something should be done, but what should be done and just how far the government should go. And ultimately, that leaves all of us at this huge crossroads. When we look at the future of housing in America, we're faced with a choice between two very different philosophies. Is the answer to rein in the market with new laws and rules? Or is it to let investment flow freely and trust that supply will eventually catch up with demand? The answer to that question is going to shape who gets to own a home in America for a long, long time.